So ISIS-K in particular, but ISIS in general, has a strong desire to attack our homeland. We should believe them when they say that. They're going to try to do it. We should expect further attempts of this nature against the United States as well as our partners and other nations abroad.
A clear and present danger to the U.S. homeland. The former head of Central Command warning that future attacks from ISIS are not a question of if, but when. Joining us now is retired four-star General Jack Keane. He's a Fox News senior strategic analyst. I also want to read to you from the Wall Street Journal, Ed Board, saying this: the Biden administration doesn't want to talk about this for obvious political reasons, especially in an election year. All the more so when the porous southern U.S. border could be an avenue for terrorist infiltration, but it doesn't enhance U.S. safety to hide the truth. General, your thoughts on it all?
Yeah, well, there's no surprise here for the Biden administration because President Biden and his advisors were told by the entire military chain of command, from the on-scene commander in Afghanistan all the way to the Secretary of Defense, and to include his CIA director, that it's likely if we pull our troops out, sanctuaries will form, particularly with ISIS, to a lesser degree with al-Qaeda, and we could be facing future attacks. There were 6 NATO nations, Dana, that were in Afghanistan with us at the time. We had 2,500 troops. They had a cumulative of 7,000 troops. Every one of those nations wanted to stay, not to support the United States and make them feel good, because they were worried about their own national security. And now we see ISIS attacking into Europe as far away as Moscow, and certainly those nations in Europe are target one, as well as the United States homeland. And that should give us definite pause and concern about going forward.
I can understand why Putin would want to blame the Ukrainians for this attack that ISIS-K is taking responsibility for. But why is it just tell me, in Putin's mind, like, is he also worried about ISIS-K?
No, I don't think he's all that concerned about ISIS-K. What he really is concerned about is Ukraine. And he wants to undermine Ukraine in terms of our willingness to support them. If he could demonstrate and get people to support this false narrative that Ukraine was behind this devastating attack on innocent people in an entertainment hall, that he believes would pull back the support from Ukraine. I mean, it's a feeble attempt. It's amateurish. Nobody buys into it. But I think that's the motivation. I mean, Putin, in terms of casualties and deaths, he's a brutal thug, and he can accept a lot of it. But he doesn't want his people, certainly, to get overly concerned about their own security, as ISIS demonstrated they could possibly do here. And he wants to deflect that and blame Ukraine, the very country that he's fighting. So that's the second reason for that, to give the people, make sure that they're supporting the war that he's advocating and executing, because the Ukrainians now are involved in killing his people. False narrative, to be sure, but that's what he's about.
Could I ask you about Biden's plan for Gaza? He talked about making this pier that would help get humanitarian aid in. But the Washington Post reported this, that Biden's plan for Gaza pier endangers U.S. troops, experts warn. Skeptics fear the humanitarian operation will be an enticing target for Hamas or other militants. I'm assuming that the White House and the Pentagon have done a cost-benefit analysis of this and weighed the pros and cons. Do you think that doing the pier makes better sense than not?
Well, it's a very complicated operation. 4 U.S. ships en route now to help do that. They'll eventually set up a causeway on the sea to move trucks so they can offload them on the beach. And that will require protection from the air, certainly, rockets and missiles. We've seen the capabilities that the Iranian proxies have. They have very sophisticated missiles. The Houthis are shooting ballistic missiles at our ships, 16 of them, frankly. Very significant capability. They can move those missiles around. So we'll need an Aegis cruiser out there to defend, and then we have to defend an attack from the sea, an attack from underneath the sea. So we'll have to have other security folks like SEALs, let the military decide who's going to do this, and then the IDF will have to provide some security. Very complicated operation, and you still have the distribution problem once it gets to the beach.
Right.
And thousands of people are going to descend on it. You know, I mean, the better option, clearly, was to open the northern Gaza route, where most of the famine is in the north. and let the trucks come through there. The Israelis have resisted that. I understand their concern about security, but I think they would be able to protect themselves during that and also get that aid to the people that need it most. This other operation, we can do it, and we'll try to mitigate the risk, but there's no 100% guarantee that any commander can provide that we won't have casualties as a result of it. We're good at mitigating risk, but certainly there are vulnerabilities here, as I just described.
General Jack Keane, thank you for kicking us off on this Monday, and good luck to your Yankees.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.